Hello everyone, welcome to PP English Learning and Conversation. In this video, you are going to learn figures of speech of the poem Nose versus Eyes written by William Cowper. This is a satirical poem on judiciary system. It highlights lack of common sense in the judgment. There was a fight between nose and eyes, and the spectacle was the main reason of their dispute. You know students, here the sense organs are personified. Poet uses human organs as characters in the poem. Tongue is the lawyer and ears the judge. Let us begin with the first line. Between nose and eyes, a strange contest arose. Here you notice that the poet has presented an unusual contest between nose and eyes. And you know the spectacles were the cause of their unhappiness. The figure of speech is inversion. Inversion is a figure of speech where the order of the words are changed to highlight a particular point. As you find, the words in the line have been rearranged for poetic effect. The correct word order should be a strange contest arose between nose and eyes. So it is inversion. Next line, the spectacles set them unhappily wrong. Means the spectacles were the reason of their unhappiness. The figure of speech is alliteration. Alliteration is a figure of speech when in the given poetic line, a particular sound is repeated for the poetic effect. So it is alliteration. Here, the sound of the letter S has been repeated twice for the poetic effect. Next line, the point in dispute was as all the world knows. Here the poet means that the main cause of the dispute, that is fight, is well known to everyone. The figure of speech is alliteration, as the sound of the letter W is repeated twice in the words was and world for the musical effect. So it is alliteration. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is consonance. Consonance is a poetic device when the consonant sound is repeated in the given poetic line. Here the consonant sound Z has been repeated in the words was, as, knows. This is for the musical effect. So it is consonance. We have one more figure of speech in the same line, that is repetition. Repetition is a figure of speech when a particular word is repeated for the musical effect. Here the word the is repeated twice. So it is repetition. Next line, to which the said spectacles ought to belong. Here it is an argument between nose and eyes, wherein each claimed to be the owner of the spectacles. The figure of speech found here is alliteration, as the sound of the letter S has been repeated twice for the poetic effect. Next poetic line, so tongue was the lawyer and argued the cause. The figure of speech is personification. Here, the tongue was appointed as the lawyer and showcased his knowledge and skills through his argument. The figure of speech is personification. Personification is a figure of speech when animate qualities are given to non-living things. Here, tongue is personified. That's why it is personification. Next line, with great deal of skill and a wig full of learning. The figure of speech is alliteration, as the sound of the letter W has been repeated twice for the musical effect. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a figure of speech when a part of something represents the whole. Here, the wig, that is part, represents the judge, that is the whole. You know students, Judge is the person who is having in-depth knowledge and skills and not the weak. So it is synecdoche. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is consonance. Consonance refers to the use of words with the similar consonant sounds in a sentence. Here, the consonant sound of the letter L has been repeated in the line for the poetic effect. So it is consonance. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech where you find change of name. Here, and a week full of learning is actually head full of learning. So students, here wig is used as a symbol of knowledge of laws. So it is metonymy. Next poetic line. While Chief Baron Ear sat to balance the laws, so famed for his talent in nicely discerning. The figure of speech is alliteration. As you know, the sound of the letters B and F have been repeated for the poetic effect. Here we find one more figure of speech, that is personification. You know students, here ear has been personified. Ear has been given animate qualities of judge. So it is personification. We find one more figure of speech, that is inversion. Here you know the words have not been arranged as per the prose order. The correct word order should be while Chief Baron Ear, famed for his talent in nicely discerning, sat to balance the laws. So this is correct word order. That's why it is inversion. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech when there is indirect comparison between two things. Here, ear is compared to baron. There is an indirect comparison between ears and the baron of the court. That's why it is metaphor. Next line. In behalf of the nose, it will quickly appear. The figure of speech is inversion, as the words are not given as per the prose order. You find words are rearranged for the poetic effect. The correct word order should be it will quickly appear in behalf of the nose. Next poetic line. And your lordship, he said, will undoubtedly find. The figure of speech is personification. Here, the ear is addressed as lordship. The ear has been personified through the use of the male pronoun he. That's why it is personification. Next poetic line. That the nose has had spectacles always in wear. The figure of speech is alliteration, as the sound of the letter H has been repeated twice in the words has and had for the poetic effect. Next poetic line. Which amounts to possession time out of mind. The figure of speech is alliteration. The sound of the letter T has been repeated twice for the poetic effect. That's why it is alliteration. Next line. Then holding the spectacles up to the court. The figure of speech found here is personification, as the tongue, that is lawyer, has been given the animate quality of holding. So it is personification. One more figure of speech is found, that is repetition, as the word the is repeated twice for the musical effect. One more figure of speech is found, that is alliteration, as the sound of the letter the has been repeated in the words then and the. This is for the musical effect. Next poetic line. Your lordship observes they are made with a straddle as wide as the ridge of the nose is. The figure of speech is Simile. Simile is a figure of speech when there is direct comparison between two unlike things. Here there is a direct comparison between the straddle of the spectacles and the ridge of the nose. So it is simile. Next poetic line. Designed to sit close to it, just like a saddle. The figure of speech is repetition. As the word to is repeated twice. That's why it is repetition. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is alliteration. As the sound of the letter S has been repeated twice for the poetic effect. S in sit, S in saddle. So it is alliteration. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is consonance. Consonance is a figure of speech where the consonant sound is repeated. Here the consonant sound T has been repeated in the words sit, to and it. This is for musical effect. One more figure of speech is found, that is simile. Simile is a figure of speech when there is direct comparison between two unlike things. Here there is a direct comparison between close fitting design of the spectacles and that of a saddle on a horse. So it is simile. Next poetic line. Again would your lordship a moment suppose. The figure of speech is inversion. Here the words in the line have been rearranged for the poetic effect. The correct word order should be again would your lordship suppose for a moment. Next poetic line. It is a case that has happened and may be again. The figure of speech is alliteration. As the sound of the letter H has been repeated twice in the words has and happened. So it is alliteration. Next poetic line. That the visage or countenance had not a nose. Pray who would or who could wear the spectacles then. The figure of speech is inversion. As you know, inversion is a figure of speech where words are not arranged as per the prose order. Here the correct word order should be pray that the visage or countenance had not a nose, who would or who could wear the spectacles then. We find one more figure of speech in the same line, that is tautology. Tautology is a figure of speech when two different words having the same meaning are used side by side for the poetic effect. Here the words visage and countenance have the same meaning, that is face. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is repetition. Here the word who is repeated twice for the poetic effect. One more figure of speech is found in the same line, that is alliteration. The sound of the letter W is repeated twice for the pleasing effect. So it is alliteration. We have one more figure of speech, that is interrogation. Interrogation is a figure of speech when a poetic line is constructed as a question. The intention is not to get an answer but to highlight the point. Next poetic line. With a reasoning the court will never condemn. The figure of speech is alliteration. As the sound of the letter W is repeated twice for the poetic effect. Next poetic line. And the spectacles plainly were made for the nose. The figure of speech is repetition. As the word the is repeated twice. That's why it is repetition. Next poetic line. And the nose was as plainly intended for them. The figure of speech is alliteration. As the sound the is repeated twice, that is in the words the and them. That's why it is an alliteration. Next poetic line. Then shifting his side as a lawyer know how. The figure of speech is alliteration, as the sounds S and H have been repeated. That's why it is alliteration. Next poetic line. For the court did not think they were equally wise. The figure of speech is alliteration, as the sounds the and were are repeated twice for the musical effect. Next line. So his lordship decreed with a grave solemn tone. Again the figure of speech is tautology. Here we find two different words having the same meaning, that is grave and solemn. They both have same meaning. Next line. By daylight or candlelight, eyes should be shut. The figure of speech is repetition, as the word light is repeated for the musical effect. We find one more figure of speech in the same line, that is alliteration, as the sound sh is repeated twice. We also find antithesis in the same line, that two opposite words, daylight and candlelight, are placed side by side. So it is an antithesis. So students, this is all about figures of speech of the poem Nose versus Eyes. Thank you.